and then you kind of pick up both of them together. I'll look to the direction of the commissioners. Sure.
Jump right in.
To a Wrights block.
Sure. Vadim said there's no sound, so we're
Well,
working
we
on
just
it.
unmuted. Do we wanna unmute him to see if he can hear us?
Can you unmute and go on video now, Vadim?
There's something in the chat.
Yep, I can hear you guys great now. Thank you so much.
I should note Vadim is
Oh, there we go, yeah.
getting into the saddle of being a father.
Got the baby. Got the baby.
Vadim, I don't know if you heard my overview on the crafts block. I covered the utilities into the building. Did you want to add anything?
No, I'm sure whatever you said was perfect.
I'll look to the commissioners for any questions on it, but I think at the chair's discretion, we're gonna move right on to Wrights block and pick up both questions at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. Moving along to Wrights block, so which is adjacent to Crafts block. They're both at the North High Street Historic District, right here. If you go down the street where we're standing or sitting. This one is a set of 4 Italianate buildings built around 1869 to 1870. Presumably by Stephen Wright, who I believe lived in the far left tower, 106 high. Was a mason from Ireland. It is set up as 4 storefronts, which are currently leased up and occupied. We're looking to rehabilitate the upper floors, levels 2, 3, and 4, into 19 mixed income, market rate, and affordable apartments. It's been a true labor of love. We bought the building in 2019. Had put over $1 million of infrastructure work into the building, including a sprinkler system, electric service transformer for the whole block, water main infrastructure, and a variety of other roofing and closure work. The project is a very expensive project. It's over $8 million. It doesn't make financial sense as a building would be worth at the end. Because of that, we are cobbling together as many different state and federal funding sources as possible. But we currently have 14 different funding partners, of which a large majority of them are ready to close and go into construction in the summer. Which is nice timing, and it kind of coincides well with Crafts block finishing up, where a lot of that knowledge from a smaller project can get brought into Wrights block, which is kind of a larger similar project. Really the key foundation of Wrights block is the historic credits, particularly the state historic. The program works where out of the state credits you're able to get, they come in little tranches every 3 times a year. This project requires that we really pick up the 18% of the QRE, which is pretty much the max historic gives out. They usually don't hit you the full 20%. It's usually only 18 they cap out at. We won't be able to go into construction without earning a certain amount of that state credit. At some point it fills that contingency, which is still needed and required for this building, but the bank won't let us go into a closing unless we get one more tranche of state credits. And that's what this letter of support is here for. And I just want to reiterate the importance of it. Out of the 14 funding sources, we have a variety of different state funders. Those state funds are kind of locked into certain deadlines, and a few of those are expiring in this year. So if we do not move into construction in June, we lose the chance of some of these state funds from the project. Right now, we have a balanced funding source where we can adequately go into construction, and we're very looking much forward to that prospect here. I'm happy to go through a little more detail on the state credit process. I was told it might be a little bit too confusing. It's a very, I think it's a fascinating process how the state credits are used to buy plywood and repoint the facade. It's quite interesting, elaborate structure that we developers need to go through.
Can you give us some quick pointers, just a brief overlay of it?
I would.
Yeah.
So you have to identify, first you get the state tax credits from Mass Historic, who allocates them. You then find a buyer for the state credits, in which case we have a buyer lined up. In itself, you can't use them as a for-profit entity, or else you pay taxes on them, which loses the validity and the whole point of going for them and maximizing that efficiency. So you actually, we donate those credits to a third party nonprofit, which loans them into the project as a soft loan. So we have identified that party as Preservation Mass, who's provided for the entire state tax credits. But that loan that Preservation Mass brings isn't till the end of the project after you are awarded those tax credits. So you have a fourth partner, which in our case could be Mass Development, who provides construction bridge financing to allow you to actually spend down that money during construction and get paid off by the Preservation Mass donation loan, which is then from the buyer of the tax credits. So it's this kind of really cobbled together process. That's just one of the funding layers of a very complex funding stack. All those parties are ready to close, and if we do not get this tax credits, it really does delay the whole project. So that key piece of it is really the kind of the key piece of the puzzle and why I'm coming to you for a letter of support here today.
Okay. Commission have any questions?
Have you found any interesting artifacts in any of the buildings?
It's a good question.
Anything in the street or
Yeah, so
digging down?
I have for
Kick it till we go.
Wrights block, a prior owner demolished the interior finishes for these three towers here. The tower
And then
on the far left side on the third floor has an intact. Basically as the single room occupancy as it once was back when it was originally built for mill housing. We use that, like the concepts of the doors, the trim, wainscoting to mimic what was presumed for the other towers. So we actually have done a careful thing where like all the surviving windows, the surviving trim, the surviving interior doors are now replicated in the proposed plans that were approved by Park Service and Mass Historic.
Could you pass that around?
I'm happy to. I will pass them both around and maybe I'll pass this way here.
We've seen that one, I think.
You have, okay,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
came back to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's a life of its own. I'm happy to enlighten folks on the process to state credits further, but it is a complex process is what I will surmise. I wish it was easier.
Does that add time to the project?
Yes, it typically does. I find usually the challenge is more of you have all these different funding partners. And getting them to the same gate. I kind of picture it like a horse race where you gotta line everybody up in the same, readiness to get ready. And then from there, we can actually push the closing. I should note, each of these funders, they bring their own attorney over. So at some point during these closing calls, we have 10 attorneys on these calls. And I'll tell you, the attorneys are motivated to have this drawn out. You get paid by the hour, right? So for us, it's about having an efficient closing process.
How many agencies did you say?
We have 14 funding sources. Some of those funding sources are what you call interim. Like the tax credit bridge loans,
Yes. But in order
bridge
to bring
financing.
it to a conclusion, you have to go through all of these
Well, then I know,
iterations
but-
of
Correct,
funding.
and then usually there's permanent financing that kind of comes in and takes over in kind of perpetuity.
Could you make a flow chart so we can see? No,
I would love to at some point, right now we're under the proverbial gun, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's a process that I think if we can educate other developers, it would really help people utilize these state credits in an efficient way.
Is there a single source for the information that is required to fulfill?
I find the buyers for state tax credits are expertise on how to
That's their
utilize it.
job.
And we've really relied on that to, be, we had a broker to basically kind of facilitate the state credits.
Sorry, that makes sense.
It's not a majority.
Right,
It's not a majority.
No,
No,
right.
right, yeah. That's what we initially thought. How do we word it?
Just contingent upon confirmation from legal.
Such advice.
Like I said, and if not, then we deal with it.
Okay.
Mhm. But
Um,
we'll do a roll call, just do a yea or nay.
Okay, well, Vadim's gonna present and then
right,
we'll deal with that.
Sorry, administrative. behind the
That's okay.
scenes.
I think Vadim may rely on my presentation unless Vadim, you wanna add anything
Oh.
before we give it back to the board.
No, I think Bill said everything great. Just we would ask the commission to support us with this letter of support. You know, the timing of this is really important, unfortunately, and you know, we do risk the loss of some of these key financial pillars if we, you know, if we don't, so that's all we would add. And yeah, I think Bill did a great job presenting it. We're happy to talk more about the projects if you have any questions.
Yeah, and my goal for the next, till I see you again, will be to advance through closing. I know you missed this part, but each party brings in their own attorney and it's usually like a 6 to 8 month process. It wants to be a 12-month process, but I try to reel it in and make it expeditiously faster.
Moving parts.
Yes. Part of the fun though. Okay. I will rest my case and
Okay.
I'll pass it over to the chair.
alrighty, any other commissioners, questions, concerns?
Can we explain what we're doing?
Yes.
Are you taking one vote for both or a vote for each?
Can we
I
do one for both?
You can do one for
6 to
both.
1.
think one for each, does anyone have an issue with that? Bringing the both buildings together as one? Is that okay?
That's fine.
Bless you.
Bless you, I think. We also have an issue with our two newest commissioners who have not signed the book as of yet. So that will be something how do you wanna do this?
The vote will be contingent upon
Legals
confirmation from
and
legal.
legal, but we're just gonna do a yay or nay.
Mhm.
Is that making sense to everyone?
Why are we,
Yeah, why would we have to do a yay or?
I mean, I can do a roll call, I just figured a yea or nay, roll them into one.
I think let's do a roll call.
What's the
That's
what's
Yeah,
the
what's the
difference?
difference?
What's the difference though?
That's fine, I was just trying to simplify the
Okay.
process.
Okay. So I guess I asked for a motion for letters of support for the crafts blocks and the Wrights block.
I'll make a motion for letter of support for crafts and rights.
Can I get a second? You are allowed to, both of you, if you want to. Okay, second.
Sure, to me.
She, yeah.
Yeah.
No, she has to say it every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, you want a roll call or you want yea or nay?
Do you want me to say it out loud?
You want roll?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, when we call your name,
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
That's what I thought,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Chris Gothier?
I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Zaisha Robert?
Abstain. Because I have financial gain. And
Joseph Mazzola?
I am also going to abstain.
So now it would be up to,
Lisbeth? Olivia?
I vote in favor of the letter.
Mary Kay?
I'm gonna abstain as well.
And David Owen?
All in favor?
Okay. So that it'll have to go to legal, but there's 4 abstentions. So. I will reach out to legal and I will get back to both of you ASAP. Including the chair.
but it's also dependent on the addition as well with the two signing the book.
Not if she's abstaining. Now there's 4 abstentions and 2 yeses.
2 yeses.
Correct. And so that's gonna have to go, I'll have to discuss it with legal tomorrow.
Okay,
And then I will pass on whatever I hear from legal to the chair
and then to.
and the project.
Okay, all right, okay.
Excuse me, Commission,
Yes,
am I allowed to ask why the abstentions?
why is the what?
No abstentions.
Why are folks abstaining?
I think that that's gonna be a question that I discussed with legal, Vadim.
Oh, okay,
So I'll get back to you and Bill and the chair once I discuss with legal how to proceed with this. So I'll address that and make sure that everybody knows the reason behind, because there will have to be discussions about that.
okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on now to the Victory Theater. I don't know who wants to start.
We have Mary and Barbara. And Alec. We
Hi,
have
everyone.
Alec.
Alex out with us, I don't.
Oh, he's with us.
Oh, okay.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Nastasi. I work with Ryan LLC. We are historic tax credit consultants. And I am working with Dawn and the rest of the Victory Theater team on the rehabilitation of the Victory Theater. I came before you last month to request a support letter for the Massachusetts Historic Tax Credit application. As some of you probably know, the project applied for and received several rounds of Massachusetts state tax credits in the early to mid 2010s, and then was essentially on pause for a couple of years as the team worked to accrue funding. Now things are picking back up again. The project is returning to the state application process. And as you all know, part of that is the support letter from you guys. So when I was here last month, there were some questions about the work that had been done to date, as well as other approvals that may or may not be required. So I have some photos to show you guys, and Dawn, who is there, can tell you a little bit more about the approvals that the project both has received and is in the process of receiving. One second, I can pull up the photos. So at this point, the work that has taken place has been primarily on the interior of the building. The work has been focused on for instance, all the work that's happened has been approved already as part of the historic tax credit application process, such as the removal of the interior steps in the main auditorium space, and also the removal of some of the incredibly damaged plaster. So I sent around these photos this morning. I don't know if they've been circulated, but just to quickly walk through these. So these are photos that were taken in 2024, showing the conditions at that time. So here you can see that the plaster is in pretty horrible shape. And that's a pretty consistent condition. That was a pretty consistent condition throughout the building. You can see here the orchestra pit in awful shape. Again, plaster is falling. You can see the structure beneath. Moving upstairs, the wood paneling is falling apart. The ladies' lounge is one of the locations of the restrooms, to continue to be such. Main stair again. And then these photos were taken this past month. So the stair itself obviously remains in pretty rough shape. And when you move into the auditorium, that's where you really see most of the work that's happened. So all the chairs have been removed, again, as has been previously approved, as well as the removal of the plaster. There's been no work on the exterior of the building to date, but the next step will be some exterior work, again, as previously approved. Again, you get a sense of how extensive the deterioration was in the building up until this point. And the intention, again, as approved, is to put back the plaster, restore all the plaster molding, restore all of the decorative detail. So even though a lot of stuff had to go away, the idea is that it will all be put back, or at least put back to match. And here's that ladies' lounge again.
When were these photos actually taken?
February
These-
30th.
Is it
February.
February 25. This last
Just
month.
recent, okay.
Mhm. Yes, these are very recent photos. So these, if you were to step in the building today, this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
And again, you can see here, there's still some pretty extensive damage that's going to need to be remediated. And then Dawn, do you want to discuss the approvals that you've you've achieved to date and what else is what the next steps are there?
Yes, well, thank you, Mary. Thank you, board members. It's very interesting. I don't know if you have ever been in the theater before or when, but of course, when I see these photos, as I've said on tours, sometimes the moment before things are improving is the worst looking moment. And you're seeing the seats removed from the theater, and you're seeing all of the dangerous plaster that had been taken down. And as Mary is saying, the whole point of a historic restoration is that everything goes back as it was, exactly in the same style, and reproductions of the decorative plaster and the paneling. And it goes back as it was, but in brand new materials, just as the infrastructure, the heating and the lighting and the improvements to the entire facility, which will make this a 1,600 seat performing arts center, 21st century capability arts, performing arts center for Holyoke and the entire region, unlike any other facility like it in the 3 counties. And so when you see it now, what's exciting for me, and what there is, I have to defer to Olivia, who I think is a hero of this project, because she first was the person who engineered the taking down of the historic murals, which are on either side of the proscenium. You can see in that upper photo just the lower white rectangular space.
Yeah,
those are what are called the Victory Theater murals. They were done in 1941 and 42 by Vincent Miragliata, a very famous WPA painter, artist. And they were taken down in actually 2010, and they have been fully restored by Evergreen Associates, who, by the way, are the restorers for the decorative details of the interior. I'm always very proud to say that their most recent big job was the Sistine Chapel in Rome. And people may have seen some reproductions of those. Those will go back up on either side of the stage, and they are in storage. And that began with Olivia's really very passionate belief that that could happen, and it has happened. So these things are happening all along. Evergreen also took molds of all of the plaster work that you don't see now, so that then gets reproduced in new material. And in terms of the financing of how this has come in, we call this pre-construction for construction. This is all put together by our contractors, Bar and Bar, who I have to say, by the way, did Radio City Music Hall. They did the restoration of Radio City Music Hall. They know a lot about theaters, and we can have complete confidence in them. And they, and along with the architects, Durkee Brown, Vivieros and Werenfelds, this schedule of taking down before putting back up is very complicated. This part is the pre-construction. So basically everything that was unsafe has been removed, and the roof has been fixed finally. I mean, the stories about the roof, we finally found after years, and again, Olivia was in on some of this, that nobody could figure out why it was leaking. And it turned out that until the architects and the contractors got up there, real architects and the contractors, that there were internal drains in the corners of the building, not external things like we might have in our houses. They were internal, and every time the roof had been fixed, they had been paved over. So the water had no place to go except to come through. So all of those kinds of things have been done. And we're now going into construction, what we call the construction phase in April, with the pointing of the brick on the Chestnut Street side and with the improvement of the Suffolk Street facade. It's all a very delicately choreographed process. And in terms of the finances, the pre-construction that you're just seeing, which gives us the possibility to make it look better, cost about $5.5 million. That work has been done. And the next phase that we go into with the pointing and the facade, that each one of these things, there is a book the size of what used to be the New York telephone book that shows all of the different elements of the restoration of the theater that will result in its opening in, I'm the one who always has to take the heat. If we keep going at this pace, it would be 2 years, 2 to 3 years. It now goes faster. Barbara Sokoloff has joined us too, who is what a wonderful consultant. May I also praise Barbara for her role in water fire in Providence, Rhode Island, and her sticking with us here in this incredible project. And each one of these phases has been very carefully worked through. I was very sorry I wasn't at the last meeting because I could have made it clearer when you saw the seats that were still there that they had gone. And but I hope this gives you some more of an understanding of where we're at, and I'd be really happy to answer any questions and any clarifications. So there's a lot to say about this project.
I would like, if possible, if you could talk more about the city departments. What has gone to either the planning
Sure.
board, the building
Yeah.
department?
Yes.
I know we had talked a little bit about the back alley.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think that's something that we really need to
Sure,
bring to the
absolutely.
forefront of,
Very important.
okay.
So this is, so the League of Broadway Theaters, this relates to the economic viability of the project. So there's something called Tier A Broadway Tours. And the business model for the success of this project has changed a little bit since 2009 when we took over the project. It has taken advantage of a phenomenon called Tier A Broadway touring. And that's, you've probably heard all these shows. I mean, Hell's Kitchen, that won the Grammy Award for Best Record last week or whatever, will be going on tour this fall. That show would come to the Victory. The purpose of the Victory is that it is a 1,600 seat theater. It's not a 50 or a 300 or 350 or 700 seat theater. It is 1,600 seats. It is the last Broadway theater in the entire Connecticut River Valley, from Old Saybrook to the Canadian border. And we've got it here in Holyoke. It is an absolute asset used correctly. And now we can use it correctly because it is based on having the anchor of probably 6, and I can go through more details about seasons, 6 Broadway shows that come here. And the ratio of seats, 1,600 seats, which generate ticket sales to the cost of the Broadway show is a very, as much as anything in the theater can be definite, it's a very definite formula. And we are creating the theater so that it can house those shows. And one of the adjustments that we're making is to move the rear of the stage of the theater into the alleyway by 4 feet. And that has been very, of course, it's difficult because of the alleyway. And the first step that had to be overcome is to find a way for the fire department to have an access point to the alleyway to service any kind of fire issues in the alley. And that has been a plan has been devised by our architects and the contractors that went to the fire department, and they have given their approval of one particular plan. Now, all that goes, Mr. Chair, to the planning department, and they will, we're looking at, we hope by the end of March, like March 25th, to have that come in front of the planning department. We had complete planning approval for this project in 2018.
Not with the extension.
Not with the extension.
Okay.
And so what, here I am, given this phenomenon of the Broadway touring, I felt it was better to try to find a solution that makes us, why are we doing the extension? So that we are capable of having almost 80% of all the potential Broadway tours. With those 4 feet might not seem like a lot, but it's a tremendous amount in terms of backstage crossover. I was just at Sunset Boulevard Friday night in New York, and it's always brought home to me how the depth of the stage in terms of when you have 40 odd people, dancers and all that, that it's precious commodity. So that will enable us, and we have a letter from the Broadway League that I'm not sure if we did send a copy of it, that explains why this is so important to us, quite frankly, as a city, as a destination, entertainment destination, to do this and come up with solutions that work for the safety of fire prevention and addressing any issues of fire, and also other issues that the city has in terms of the alleys, way, and so forth. So but the planning approval had been done for the whole project prior to that, and we are looking forward to having it go in front of the planning department again. And so far, the fire department has approved of the plan.
Written notice, or is this just a verbal?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Verbal, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Pretty sure we have an email.
We have an email, yes.
Okay. Do you know by
yes.
who? By who?
From Luis.
Salazar?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I
No.
think is Kierda.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
sorry.
You're correct. Got my Louises mixed up.
Don, what about, I mean, just the process of instead of expanding, going towards the music stage, is it called, what is it called? The orchestra, is that?
Coming forward.
Right.
Oh, you mean instead of going backward? Well,
I
that's.
mean, it's gonna be an expense to be adding on to this.
Yes, it is.
Property.
It is, but that expense, believe me, is picked up by the gain in the economic stability that having the viability of more shows that can fit in there. It really is overcome. Actually, the new budgeting shows that we actually earn more money by going through the expense of extending the rear of the stage. Coming forward is not a possibility because this theater was designed by Mowell and Rand, probably the most eminent Broadway theater designers extant. Their archives are at Harvard. Again, I say it's here in Holyoke. We got it, and we got to get it open and functioning. It's very incredibly worked out so that people sitting, you're looking at the overhang here of what's the dress circle, or what some people would call a mezzanine, and its relationship to looking at anything happening on the stage is a very delicate one, very carefully worked out arithmetically, and the people sitting under it looking at the stage, and anything you move forward actually would ruin that relationship. So there are 800 seats in the orchestra downstairs, and there are 800 seats in the combination of the dress circle and the balcony up there, and so you can't.
Dawn, if
what
I
we
could
are
also,
doing-
Sorry, if I could interrupt very quickly, just adding on to that, from the historic tax credit perspective,
Yes,
the
right.
theater itself, the stage, the proscenium, those are very important character defining features of this space. Moving that forward, even by as little as 4 feet, would be essentially considered a no-go by National Park Service and Mass Historic Commission. So moving into the alley, while that is an impact on the exterior of the building, it's not even a secondary elevation, it's a tertiary elevation that's moving into an alleyway that allows the theater to get the space that it needs without impacting what is the most important interior space. So that is also a consideration why it can't move forward. So sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Don.
No, it's a very good point.
Makes sense.
And the interior is, of course, the most importantly covered assessment by the Historic Commission. I mean, that is the importance. The paneling that you saw, the detail that will go back is just going to be extraordinary. And there's no reason to, as Mary correctly says, not only would there be no reason to want to mess with that, we have approval for all of that. Getting back to the approval issue, we have approval for all the restoration that's being done on every possible way. And that would, it would endanger the Historic Commission's approval.
So have you been talking to Jeff Burkott? I mean,
Yes, I just talked to Jeff today.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And is there a meeting of some
We're
sort
looking at
setting
the
up
March 25th.
March 25th?
Olivia, did you?
Sorry, Olivia.
Yes, you're planning to bring the seats back
Yes, well,
in what, yeah.
the seats are an amazing story. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Short version.
Short version.
Tell us
They
about
are
that.
being repurposed in a very interesting way. We're able to retain the original aluminum frames, but all of the seats are being changed within that, and we're retaining the rock maple armrests, of which we have one that we've saved, which is number 101. It'll be years. Anyhow.
Years.
So that has been a very interesting solution for a lot of reasons. Because the whole seats were deemed too deteriorated and probably not worth the effort. So it's been a very creative solution to that.
How about the
I will say
ladies?
as well,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just supposed to say that is a very common treatment with historic theaters, taking the existing historic seats and refurbishing them. Because you have to remember when theaters like this were constructed, people were smaller, and also there was less of an expectation of comfort, quite frankly. You were sitting there to watch a theater or to watch a performance. You weren't sitting there to necessarily enjoy sitting in your seat. So changing expectations for comfort, for size, and also for accessibility means that it is very, very common that historic theater seats need to be refurbished in order to be usable in a modern theater.
I just have one more question. The lady on one of the panels, remember?
Yes,
She
she's
was in
still there.
plaster, she's still there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. It's Venus arising from the
Yes,
sea.
yeah, I couldn't remember what,
Yeah.
yeah. She's in a gown or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, she's there. She's not going anywhere.
Yes, okay.
So Chris and I met with our new building commissioner, Leslie. This commission has sort of been excluded from a lot of the meetings with the Victory, not intentionally, just people crossing paths and all of that. So going forward, we're hoping to be included in those meetings.
Yes.
I just want to make sure, I am the biggest supporter of this project, that we as a commission are making sure that everything's good with the city before we vote on things. I know planning had a lot of questions, the
Mhm.
building department had a lot of questions. For me personally, I think this question of the back wall is a big thing to undertake. I don't see any issue with it at all. I just wanna make sure that sort of
We're in
everything
alignment
is,
with all the
yeah,
city
that
departments.
everything's being, you know, yeah. I don't know, I just felt like they had a lot of questions and
Questions regarding what, because they haven't resubmitted the new plans yet. From
right,
their
so there's
architects.
been, right, so there's been a lot of discussion about the back wall, I don't know,
When we're only hearing
yeah, just
of
cause
this now.
we've not dealt with them for a very long time. So as we're jumping back in, it's just more about making sure we have all the correct information, and everybody else has the correct information. And that everybody's on the same page.
If I could just add a little, don't feel, the back walls return, as I said, we had total approval in 2018. The back wall has only come in more recently because of, as I said, the change in the tier A
Absolutely.
potential. And it would seem very foolish on my part as the, looking at this practically, that if we don't do this now, we are in a certain way, we're hamstringing the theater a bit. There's no reason, it is just a rear wall, which would go straight out the way it is.
Mhm.
It has no decorative, I mean, it's a wonderful wall, and did not take into consideration the opportunity to do this now, when things are only gonna get more expensive. Once the whole thing is done to put the back wall out, it really, and that's why, quite frankly, we've only introduced this again with that option, which I only was completely made aware of in October. And we went back to the architects, again, I don't mean to be constantly referring to them, but we've had the same architects and they're very tough people. And I said, I think I'm going to go on record as saying I want to do this and try to find a way to do it. Because I think it's much better to do it now and rather than to say, we can't have this, we can't have that, we can't do this, we can't do that. I mean, there'll still be a couple of things we can't do, but when we could do it now, we're in the last phases of raising the money. It's a lot of money. I just think it is much more commonsensical to do it now. So I just want to address the point. It would have been hard for you to hear anything more about this until actually we had the first substantive meeting about how it could be done in the end of November.
Mhm.
And then we had a pre-meeting with the planning department where we introduced the idea and which was basically, people hearing it informationally. The real issue at that meeting, which was the beginning of December, was from the fire department saying, we like it, we like this idea, we get it. But we must have an access point for fire prevention. So we felt that that was absolutely the first thing to be addressed, because that's a real issue in terms of safety of people, et cetera. And so the architects and the contractors went away. We have those plans. We can show you an example of them. And they came up with 3 solutions. They had an extensive conversation with the fire department at that
Can you
time.
send that to us?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There's a lot of work been done on that. You haven't been left out for very long.
Right, yeah, no, I just, that is contingent upon approval from planning, is that correct?
I would say yes, everything will now have to go. That would be the only thing that is different from the 2018 approval.
Okay,
That is the only thing?
Yes, I think that is, as far as,
I believe so, yeah,
believe so.
but, and yeah. They're finalized construction drawings and that.
Okay.
yeah.
Been that long?
Hmm?
It's been that long.
there was a pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I
Yes.
ask a question? You said that, or when you were just referring to November, December, are you talking about 2 months ago?
Yes.
Is when you brainstormed and thought there should be the add-on in the
Yes,
back?
yes,
And since that time, you've already gotten approval from the fire
yes,
department?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't know if you were talking back in 2018.
No. And again, that was that happened, and it's a fascinating letter from the League of Broadway Theaters to basically saying,
4 feet is a lot of space.
yeah,
And that would be going out into the alleyway? Or-
into the alleyway,
Yeah,
correct.
into the alley.
And it would still allow for accessible for fire
Yeah,
trucks and
can you-
everything to go by?
That-
Are
yes,
you
they've-
able to speak about what they have said that might look like?
Did we have a
Should be
drawing?
their plans.
The drawing, I think is.
Yeah, I'm sending it to the chair.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
And it's option 2 was the one selected, it's middle left, you'll be able to see.
Okay,
But we presented them with 3 different, solutions to make sure that we were really meeting their needs.
And I think Mary, I mean, again, we rely on Mary and Barbara's take on, I think Mary's earlier description of, I mean, that's not something we could do with anything inside the theater or with the Suffolk Street
Mhm.
facade, or even with the Chestnut Street facade, which is not as elaborate, because that is it's a public visibility. And that's not to demean a plain brick wall, but the plain brick wall does not have the same like personality, so the fact that it would be moved out the same as it is, but we could never do anything like that with any of the other historic. And just to put that in perspective too, it's very important, the annex building that we acquired the adjoining property for to put up, that's there because we can't put any office space or any additional things inside the historic building itself.
Mhm.
And we can't, so it's an accommodation to keeping, when people come and see, excuse me, the theater, they will not even be aware that has happened, quite frankly.
Okay.
And as far as access to that's what had to be solved, and it was, I'm amazed how the ingeniousness of the contractors and the fire department and the contractors figure out how to do it.
Airport.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Excuse me.
No questions. I'm excited to hear that it's in the final phase. So you guys will be breaking ground, you said in April for construction,
Into the construction.
to get to
Yeah, I mean,
completion.
it's a little confusing. I feel we've been in construction since 2009.
Yeah.
Getting the plans and the millions of dollars, all that's cost, but this is the actual.
What date is the planning, you meeting with the planning?
We just, I mean, I spoke to Jeff today and we
Okay.
were talking about looking at March 25th.
March 25th. Okay.
But we're happy to get you any other information before that,
Well, one of us should attend.
I don't know, Mary, was that from I really need to stress that this letter of support, we already have the approval of the Mass Historic Commission in all aspects of this, and it's this what's the right word? Refinement or addition to it does not affect that approval or anything that has been already approved. And we have already been awarded tax credits, historic tax credits. They're a very important part of this. Why they're important, and I think I'd love to say this because I feel compatriots of mine are here too with another project about tax credits.
Mhm.
They are so key to people's confidence in the importance of a project. It's very emotional to me because the state of Massachusetts has one of the most rigorous historic commissions, and that is known worldwide. And the fact that we have a commission that takes the interest in the historic fabric of our communities and pronounces on it does bring a tremendous amount of credibility to a project, and not more even than credibility. Everything that we have done here is, and I know it's the same for other projects, has had to go in front of the most rigorous group of legendarily difficult architects and historians and whatever. And when they approve something, it really comes back with the imprimatur of very, very careful and serious vetting. And that's to give the citizens of Massachusetts the confidence that something important is being done. So it's very important to have this support, that the community wants this and wants it. And boy,
I've been wanting it for many years.
you said it exactly. If wishes could wash dishes. Yeah, so I do, it's very important. And you are, what can I say? I'm in awe of the fact that you take your time and do this.
From the fire
Yeah.
department.
Yeah.
I can send you that email from the fire department.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
Thank you.
Everything. I think my only concern of writing a letter of support is hearing what this March 25th meeting will bestow on the victory. We're trying to be in alignment with all the other departments, and any issues are not gonna go unnoticed.
Right.
We're all trying to work together as one. And I mean, that's kind of my only thing I keep circling back to.
I hear you in that. I
Okay.
mean, it may not get resolved at this.
Right.
I would say as that the expression of support
Mhm.
that could then be not given if something happened
Mhm.
would be, I think, much more important to the confidence of people
Mhm.
than the withholding of support and then the giving of it. Does that make sense?
Totally.
I would
just think.
also, sorry, I would like to just add one thing very quickly. So obviously, March 25th is not too far away, but that does get dangerously close to the end of the current tax credit round. So obviously, as you guys know, the support letter from you guys is a required component of the application. If we don't have the support letter, we don't get an allocation in this round. So I completely understand where you guys are coming from and the concern. But I would be remiss, and I would not be doing my job as the historic consultant if I didn't remind you that there is a timing issue at play as well.
Mhm.
Maybe there could be an approval letter then subject to, if that's before, if the March 25th date is before your application is due, Mary, maybe we could get the approval now, and then if there were a problem, it could get reconsidered.
So right now, the project has an active tax credit application in for the January 15th round. So this letter of support would be submitted late, but it would still be counted towards the round. My concern hearing about the March 25th meeting is that that's getting too close to the end of this round for it to be counted. But obviously, as you guys know, and as I've said, the letter is a required component. We're going to be back here in April and in August, back before you guys, looking for new letters. So if there's any other questions or if anything comes up, then there will absolutely be other opportunities to hold us to task and make sure that we're getting you everything that you need.
And so in order to keep the flow of historic tax credit approvals moving, this January date is important. But if in fact there were a problem, then you wouldn't submit or it would get resolved before the next submission. Is that correct?
So the January deadline has already happened. We have already submitted for the January deadline. We came to the January meeting, came back now to give more information. we would be submitting the letter as an addendum to that January application. But like I said, we're gonna be coming back after for the April deadline and for the August deadline and then the January deadline after that. So you will absolutely be seeing a lot of us over the next couple of years as we work up this project. So you will you will not feel like you are out in the dark about this project at all because we will be here.
That makes sense, writing a support letter contingent upon feedback or approval from the planning department, we could do that.
That is a motion.
I-
Yeah, well,
I fear if you do it contingent upon the March 25th, what I'm hearing from Mary is that the application is already in. And so she needs a letter of support, and that's why she came before you in January, so that she needs a letter of support for the application of funds that are already in. But you would have an opportunity for the next round, because Mary can tell you there will be numerous, as she's just said, numerous rounds. So there would be an opportunity on the next round to, if you wanted some change. But am I correct on this, Mary?
Yes. So if there's any changes that you would like to see, any other information, we will, like I said, we'll be coming back. We'll be giving you more information.
For their January,
That's
but they will write an addendum for that,
right.
it's already submitted.
I'm just thinking more. So going forward, we are implementing a compliance form, which is not necessarily relevant to this meeting. For the next round, there will be a compliance form, which will require a sign off from the building department, planning department. I'm just thinking at this current time, if that was being implemented for this meeting, the planning board would not
it wouldn't happen.
sign it. And that's my own, like, I am in absolute support of this, I see no issue, that's my only thing, is we have two city departments that have not yet really given their official opinion on this, like, big change to a building. I don't see any issue with the change. That's just my only hesitation, cause
But they couldn't have, because they haven't resubmitted the plans from the architect. I'm just trying to, like, it makes sense to me as to why it had, they didn't know anything until
they do know
they
about
resubmit.
it.
Well, they know about it, but they don't
Right.
have the new plans yet to approve or deny anything yet.
I mean, at the meeting.
I know,
Okay,
that's
so
where
I
I'm,
don't get
The same situation.
This situation has
it's,
happened before, you're saying.
no,
Other,
it's just that we just have not dealt with this in so long, so we're all the departments are sort of coming together and.
well, and I'll be
Getting all
honest
on the
with
same
you,
page.
the city of Holyoke and its citizens are watching the victory very closely.
Mhm.
Things have happened, they've been recused, they've been quiet.
But that, I really, okay, I'm here and I really think it's important to address this practically. I think what Mary is saying, if my support for something is given in support of the thing itself. It's not dependent upon, I mean, I'm still gonna do this project. If, so that is very important. I don't think that all the parts of the city have to all agree before they agree to each thing that they're supposed to agree to. In other words, I think what Mary is saying is, if a letter of support, if you like this project and you think this is fine, you're saying we support this. If the planning department finds a way and decides that it doesn't want to do it, it's not going to happen. I mean, your letter is not. It's not going to. What I said earlier, to me, it's just an expression of support. That's what it is. Thank you. And
Has the fire department signed off on option 2?
I have a communication
Okay,
from
yeah.
the yes.
Well,
There's a
I use
process
the
of
term
how it
sign
goes.
off
Yeah.
kind of liberally, if you
But they
will.
could still say no, and it would still be the same story. I mean, it's not, you're not risking.
But they agree, the department agrees with the engineer and the architect that
Correct.
the work would be compliant.
Yes.
So if there was a letter from us to saying that, you know, pending planning or some other change that has to occur, why would we not be able to do that?
We can, I think the only issue it brings up is if we say it's pending upon what planning says, then it's past the letter being able to be accepted.
All right,
That's
don't,
the issue,
then
think. right?
you're right,
That's what I
Donald. If we
understood.
sent a letter of support with no
Yeah.
caveats,
Just a plain letter. of
just
support.
a
Yeah, letter of support for the
yep,
January.
and something happens that's out of our purview a
Yep.
week or a month or a year from now,
Yep.
we're still on record as
Yeah.
saying that we think this is a good thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
would
I agree
maybe
with
just
you.
affect the next rounds. That would be
Well,
the
I
only
think that's something we
thing,
have
so-
to address when we
Well,
get
right,
there.
that's
but-
Planning
Yeah,
is
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Planning is gonna do that
Right.
when they
Where a
meet
bus
with the
would be.
fire department.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
not planning, we're not the building department, that's not what we're here to do,
I
so.
think that's what I was trying to say. It's
Yeah.
an
All right.
expression of.
Then can I get a motion for a letter of support?
Make a
Victory
motion,
Theater?
write a letter of support.
Second,
Second.
roll call?
Chris Gothier,
Yes.
Zahida Robert,
Yes.
Joseph Mazzola,
Yes.
Olivia Mozelle,
Yes.
Mary Kay O'Connor,
Yes.
David Owen.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm sorry, I got very emotional about this project. Thank you.
There's no emotions here.
Thank you. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
I understand.
There's no.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Tears of joy.
Just keep
Tears
us
of joy.
posted
One
moving
low,
forward
one
and-
slowly get.
And you, and thank you, Mary and Barbara, but it is tough stuff. I do want to say just thank you, but also in the meeting that we had in December, because you know, every city is a big, small town. And at that meeting, and Fleur was there and other board members were there, they would testify what I said. Nobody else at that meeting was concerned about the back wall except for the fire department,
Mhm.
rightly so, because they are in charge of the safety of anybody having to be around that building.
Mhm.
And so they came forward. I mean, I was just amazed how they worked together with our architects and the contractors and came up with 3 incredible solutions of which they then chose. I came away from that meeting feeling, once that's done, this is, you know,
Mhm.
that was the issue. Nobody brought up any other issues. Other issues can come up and so forth, and they will.
Mhm.
But the fact is, I guess what I meant earlier too, is the fire department said, yes, we'll do this, you know, and we're working together. And, you know, each one is gonna have its, you know, there are issues about the alley. I mean, I know it's a very hot issue. The fact of the matter is we have this opportunity to do this now. I totally take responsibility for putting this whole project on the spot. And Fleur will tell you that in our meetings, it's time to do this now. And that is going to make this asset that we have in this city
Mhm.
work.
We appreciate that.
Well, thank you all, and you will be seeing plenty of us in the coming
Yeah.
months and years, so have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you. Anything else?
What's it?
Well, I'm finishing the agenda. Number 5, any announcements? Anybody have any? Insight? No? No? Number 6, new or old business. I would like to bring to your attention our current commissioner, Liz Rodriguez, has missed 14 out of 18 meetings. I would really like to write a letter to the mayor asking for her resignation, and I would need basically the support of the board here. If anybody could give a motion,
Motion to write a letter to the mayor to
Okay.
remove her.
alrighty,
Second.
roll
Well, he
call,
wait, no,
He wouldn't be-
be removing her. He would be
resignation,
asking for her resignation.
resignation.
Asking for her resignation. I'm like, remove her.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Gothier,
Yes,
Daisha Robert,
Yes.
Joseph Mazzola,
Yes.
Olivia Mozelle,
Abstain?
Mary Kay O'Connor,
Yes.
and David Owen.
Yes.
any commissioners, anything new, anything old that they would like to bring to the forefront? I did get a letter from Wisty. The journals are in place and they are home, and we just got a deed of a gift or transfer today from Penny. I don't know if you, just got it, I don't know if you want to see that, but with the friends, everything is in place, the whole title, everything has been dealt with. She has categorized everything,
Okay.
and they're all in one place, nothing has being split up. All
And
home
where is that?
at Wisty in the carriage house, all up in the
There were
archives.
also, Holyoke History Room has journals too.
Yes, but these were from the CPA,
So-
the whole
so is
total
it-
CPA,
No,
whereas the other ones,
there's a larger contingent at the history room.
we were told everything went to
We,
Wisty. And
well,
that was per Penny and
she
from
came
Brett.
over and got some journals.
Who, the, Penny?
Yeah.
That's where they went, Penny is from Wisty.
Yeah, I know. There was the initial deposit
Yeah.
of the basic documents were given to the Holyoke History Room.
Okay, and I was told they had no room. And
Well,
everything
she's
went to
full.
Wisty,
No, she's full, the history room is full,
okay,
and she couldn't take any more. That's
Okay.
the reason why the journals were still
okay,
upstairs in
Okay.
the
Alright.
office.
well,
And then Penny chose
two,
to come and take them.
okay, alright, so do we consider that okay, or is there?
The rest of it,
Okay,
yeah.
alright,
Yeah, they're in the archives.
okay, alright. Anything else, new or old? Nothing? We'll move on to item 7, reports from commissioners attending other board or committee meetings. Anyone? No? Item number 8, our next meeting date will be March 10th. If that's okay with everyone.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Why are we meeting here and not in the annex?
There was a little mold problem, which is being thoroughly cleaned from top to bottom.
Everybody's
being
getting
bleached,
displaced
right?
over there.
It's being bleached.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been temporarily relocated to the conference room.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just moved back to my office. There's still 2 additional coworkers in the conference room.
This is a one-time
So
thing,
they've been
yeah.
cleaning and it should be done this week.
Okay,
So,
so were
next month we
were you
should be all
slated to
set.
go back into the city hall?
I'm sorry?
Were you slated to go back to into the city hall?
Mhm.
Office space at some point?
No,
No, okay. Okay.
It's getting a good scrubbing and then we'll be home for our next meeting.
yeah.
Alright. Alright, 6:48, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second? That's it? Ding ding, we're done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.